On February 7, 2017, police surrounded a Georgia motel where William Boyette put a gun to his head and pulled the trigger. But the real shock? His accomplice Mary Rice, who helped him murder 4 women in 8 days, claimed she was just another victim. The surveillance footage tells a different story. This is the case that divided legal experts and challenges everything you think you know about criminal responsibility. Was Rice a willing participant in cold-blooded murder, or was she psychologically manipulated into becoming a killer?
Hello, what's going on?
I had a desk call me and tell me that they thought they heard multiple gunshots.
And there were
from a
victims
room
inside?
So I grabbed my key and I went down there and I knocked 3 different times like I was supposed to. And all I did was put the key in the door, open the door, and I see her laying halfway in the bathroom, him laying in the bed, and everything's covered in blood.
January 2017. William Boyette and Mary Rice began a killing spree across Alabama and Florida that would claim 4 innocent lives. Jacqueline Moore, Alicia Greer, Peggy Braz, Kayla Crocker. 4 women whose only crime was crossing paths with this deadly duo. But here's where it gets disturbing. Rice and Boyette's relationship began through prison pen pal letters while he was incarcerated. What started as innocent correspondence became something far more sinister. Research shows incarcerated individuals develop sophisticated manipulation techniques through extended written communication, building psychological dependency that can last long after release. When Boyette was freed, witnesses saw him at Rice's home in what appeared to be a romantic relationship. But the power dynamics established through months of carefully crafted letters had already set a psychological trap.
The Escambia County Sheriff's Office and surrounding law enforcement agencies, as well as the State Attorney's Office, in the continued pursuit, hopefully leading to the arrest of William Boyette and Mary Rice.
Surveillance footage captured Rice at Walmart independently purchasing ammunition. Security cameras showed her transferring evidence between vehicles. These weren't the actions of someone held at gunpoint. Prosecutors called her a willing participant. But here's the legal nightmare. How do you determine criminal intent when psychological coercion might be involved? Traditional accomplice liability requires proof that defendants knowingly aided crimes. But what happens when that knowledge results from months of psychological manipulation? The prosecution pointed to Rice's opportunities to escape. She had many chances to get away from Boyette, but chose to stay. The defense argued something more complex, that coercive control operates through pervasive regulation of choices, rather than obvious threats. There's another shocking layer: methamphetamine use. Research shows meth has high propensity to cause psychosis, ranging from transient psychosis to persisting symptoms similar to schizophrenia. But here's the legal paradox. Individuals with drug-induced psychotic symptoms may be denied the same protections as those with independent mental illnesses. Studies reveal that 30–40% of patients initially diagnosed with methamphetamine psychosis are ultimately diagnosed with primary psychotic disorders. Was Rice acting under psychosis, or was she a calculated killer? Different federal circuits handle cases like Rice's completely differently, creating a judicial lottery. The 7th Circuit allows expert testimony about battering effects to support duress claims, recognizing that battered women have been so subjected to abuse that their psychological perception is altered. But the 5th and 10th Circuits use purely objective standards, excluding defendants' subjective psychological states. Under this approach, abuse history is irrelevant. What matters is whether a reasonable person would perceive imminent, inescapable threat. Which approach determined Rice's fate? The answer reveals shocking gaps in our justice system. The investigation showcased modern police work at its finest. Crimes spanning Florida, Alabama, and Georgia required unprecedented coordination between multiple law enforcement agencies. Surveillance footage from Walmart, gas stations, and cash stores provided crucial evidence. The breakthrough came when investigators found victim Peggy Braz's stolen Chrysler in wooded area off 9 Mile Road, connecting the Alabama and Florida murders. A citizen tip led police to the West Point, Georgia motel where Boyette ended his life and Rice's freedom ended forever. Mary Rice received life in prison.
Sentence. Count 1 of the indictment, I'm going to adjudicate her guilty. I'm going to sentence her to life in state prison. She'll have $518 in court costs. She will get credit for 577 days in jail.
The court determined she was a willing participant, despite evidence of an abusive relationship that began through prison correspondence. This raises fundamental questions. How does the justice system evaluate agency when intimate partner violence intersects with serious crimes? The determination was based primarily on surveillance evidence without comprehensive psychological evaluation of potential coercive dynamics. This revealed systemic gaps in handling domestic violence complexities. In criminal cases, 4 women died in this tragedy. Kayla Crocker was murdered during a home invasion that left her 2-year-old child traumatized. Peggy Braz was stalked from workplace to home. Each had families, dreams, futures stolen by violence. Crocker was an organ donor providing some meaning in tragedy. But their deaths highlighted failures in victim protection and the random nature of violence that shatters community safety. Can someone psychologically manipulated over months be a willing participant in murder? How do we balance accountability while recognizing abuse's psychological dynamics? The Boyette Rice case forces uncomfortable questions about justice and criminal responsibility. Media coverage raised ethical concerns about true crime reporting, potentially reinforcing harmful stereotypes about domestic violence victims. The extensive coverage of surveillance footage and autopsy details may have re-traumatized survivors while generating profit. As understanding of psychological coercion evolves, cases like Rice's challenge us to develop sophisticated approaches, distinguishing genuine agency from coerced compliance. The prison letters that seemed like love became chains binding Rice to violence and ultimately to life behind bars.